When a class gets wiped out due to an unfortunate accident, some of them manage to get reincarnated as humans in another world. One of the girls draws the short end of the stick by being reincarnated as a pesky spider. She finds out the new world is like a game and begins her journey of trying to become the strongest character there is, while trying to survive the ordeals of being a stupid insect. A group of students are going about their day in class when suddenly a bright light covers the place and the class is destroyed. Our protagonist wakes up from her shell to find out she's been reincarnated as a vile, eight-legged arachnid. She surprisingly comes to terms with it quickly. On her way to look for food, she sees her spider mother who nearly kills her and ends up munching on her siblings, depicting the perfect scene of when mothers say they'll kill you. While running away, she managed to waste points on a useless appraisal skill that only stated the obvious, leaving her with 0 points left. She found some human footprints and followed them, only to find the dead body of her kin. This triggers her to discover her web abilities, and she immediately creates a home for herself. Hunger struck her, and she had to commit cannibalism on the dead body to restore her strength. She learnt some skills in the process, but she was still too much of an NPC to figure out how to use them. A poisonous frog then gets caught in her web, and she engages it while almost being turned into a kiddie meal by its poisonous spit. She managed to learn some more skills in the process, and took it down mostly by sheer luck and plot armor.
Take this! Stop on me!
Later, we got to see some humans, and I was relieved because I got tired of that stupid spider. One of them was the country's prince, known as Schlein. The other was the daughter of Duke Annibald, known as Carnatia. The two were part of the students that got reincarnated, and they met up with their former homeroom teacher, Miss Oke, now known as Philimos. Schlein's sister, Sui, is very suspicious of Oke and her brother for some weird reason. Oke seemed to be very happy being a young elf, so she could explore love again, which in my opinion says a lot about her past life. Oke introduces them to two other classmates that are the future Sword King and future Saint known as Hugo and Yuri respectively. Schlein and Carnatia then introduced themselves as Yamada Shunsuke and Ushima Kanata. Ushima was unfortunately reincarnated as a girl when he was formerly a dude. Who even comes up with the rules of this stuff? To make matters worse, Shun's pet, Faye, formerly known as Shinohara Mirai, was brought back as a weird purple creature. Faye referred to the Sword King as Natsume, who couldn't stop getting a good laugh from their situation. Oke mentioned that there were 11 other students under her protection. Fortunately, none of them were brought back as monsters. Meanwhile, our spider friend was having a feast on the frog she killed, leveling up her skills and doing her best to survive. Shun is dozing off in class like me every day in school when Hugo comes to gloat about the gods loving him for making him the crown prince of the Renksant Empire. Shun, being the fourth in line, starts talking about his brother, Julius, who is the hero. He speaks like he's in love with the guy. Faye then starts complaining about how she ended up and says it might be karma for bullying one of their former classmates, Wakaba, in their past life. Oke shows up and Faye asks if she has found Wakaba, but she says she hasn't. Miss Eightlegs continued her battle with frogs till she leveled up and it healed all her wounds. She then caught a human in her webs, but he just burned down her precious home and dropped an egg he was holding. She did a makeover and made a penthouse or so, I thought. It was the most useless piece of housing I'd ever seen, but we're talking about a spider here. She tried cracking the egg she picked, but it was harder than me in the early morning. Later, she identified it as an earthworm egg. Her sorrows continued when some humans showed up and burned down her villa. She had to run away, cursing herself for being a weak piece of garbage. In her bid to get stronger, she ended up fighting more creatures, but the show nearly came to an end when she ran into a swarm of insects. Luckily, she survived and went to sleep to restore her stamina. She got woken up by a large snake that didn't see her as anything but a snack. She got into a fight, and the snake nearly slammed her life into oblivion, but she managed to defeat it and level up again.
You dumb snake! Letting go!
She then evolved into a small pterodactyl, which was an advanced form of her species. Small pterodactyl, the fool wakes up in her new evolved body, but doesn't notice anything aside from her newfound gluttony and her level being reset. She eats the entire snake but is still hungrier than someone going through puberty. She sets out to find more prey and learns new abilities to make her better than Peter Parker. Her joy comes to a swift end when she's ambushed by a human party behind her. Another giant snake and a group of large lizards. That'll definitely make her remember her place in the food chain. She manages to escape them and falls off a cliff into a dark abyss. Meanwhile, Shun and the rest are having a class when Hugo displaces one of the students from his seat because of how bored he is with the class. Yuri then comes into the class to tell them they'll be having combat training. Shun gets dragged away quickly by Katya and makes Yuri look like a weird fanatic, telling him that she's been through some stuff. While outside, Sue nearly fought Hugo for disrespecting her brother but was stopped by Shun. Little sisters and their protectiveness are so cute. They started their lessons by trying to use wands imbued with water magic to shoot out water at the target. Most of the students had aim as bad as stormtroopers, and it was just sad. Faye kind of scared the students when she shot one from her mouth. Yuri, on the other hand, was being a certified psycho as she kept shooting in order to level up and hear God's voice. Another religious fanatic, Hugo the Birdbrain, tried showing off and used his fire magic on the target, but Shun put out the fire and Hugo got scolded by the teacher. Just then, they heard a strange noise when a strong gust of wind came. It turned their professor to a burnt crisp as he tried to defend the students, and an earthworm emerged from the ground. Hugo saw this as the perfect opportunity to show off, but the creature just dispersed all of his fire magic and slapped him away like the nuisance he was. Shin rushed to attack the monster and was backed up by Katya, Sue, Yuri, and Faye. They coordinated their attacks and it was nearly ruined by Hugo, who managed to get up and still wanted to be a hero.
It's gonna use its breath!
Warfare!
They should have just let the worm eat him. Faye managed to take a big bite of the creature, and Shun landed the killing blow as he sliced off its head. As Faye stood at the dead body of the worm, Shun used the appraisal skill on her, and he saw the title Kin Eater, which revealed it was Faye's parent, probably. Shun suddenly fell to the ground in pain while Sue and Katya panicked. Spidey the girl managed to survive by using her webs, but she was chased by some large bee creatures. Just when exactly does this piece of shit get a name? She hid away, but found a group of large snakes, and they got into a fight with the bees. Using the opportunity to run away, she was met with another creature called an earth dragon. How bad is this girl's luck? The dragon killed the snakes and bees that attacked it, leaving her as the only prey left. The dragon left when it figured out she wasn't worth it. She adventures forward and finds out she's in the lower stratum of the Great Elro Labyrinth. Kumoko, our friendly neighborhood spider, then finds a group of bugs that all the monsters are avoiding. She couldn't take a hint and ended up trying to eat one, which killed her and made this anime a little bit more bearable. I'm kidding. She spat it out because of how rotten it tasted. After she found some lizard monsters and killed them, her poison proficiency went up, and she could now create it with magic. Kumoko ran into a monkey that would have most likely one-shotted her if not for its stupidity. It managed to get itself wrapped in webs, and she killed it. Before it died, it let out a final scream that alerted the rest of its pack. She came across the pack and did her best to fend them off while they monkeyed around. Yeah, I said it. Don't judge me. She brought boulders down on them, but her fight wasn't over when she met 3 advanced species of the monkeys. While she took out 2, the last one snuck up on her and managed to give her a fatal wound. Being God's favorite creation, she managed to take out the last one with her poison and leveled up, which healed her. Unreasonable amount of luck, I tell ya. She thanked her stars for being saved and could evolve again, but decided to do it later. She took some stairs that led to the middle stratum and leapt for joy, only to notice the pool of lava beneath her a bit too late. Will she survive this one too? Or will her luck finally run out? She landed on the rocks, but her webs were burning up in the room from the temperature. The entire middle stratum was covered in magma, and all the monsters had fire resistance. A monster came out of the lava and started attacking her. She tried to fight back, but her webs would just burn up. With no other choice, she ran back to the lower stratum where her weak self belonged. Kumoko decided to use the opportunity and evolve. It's not like she really had a choice. When she woke up, she had become a small poison pterodactyl, which was a rare subspecies. With her new skills points, she got a skill called Pride, which boosted her proficiency and other skills. She was as dumb and impatient as ever to wait and read the description of her other skills. Another skill stood out which involved manifesting Hades, but I guess she needed some sort of intelligence to do it. There was another one called Demon Lord, and as soon as she saw it, she started lifting rocks and wood like some heartbroken gym bro. Shun, on the other hand, noticed that Faye grew bigger and evolved, making her stats even better than his. Unlike some silly spider, we know. He got to class, and everyone was greeting him like a hero, including his sister who had a serious obsession with him. Yuri showed up and was shoving the word of God down his ears like some lunatic. Someone needs to restrain her. She mentioned that anyone with the skill taboo should be killed, and this caught Faye's attention because she had it. Kumoko was sulking about not being able to use magic and decided to go find food when another earth dragon called Kognya nearly blasted her to bits. She ran away and found herself back in the middle stratum. This time, thanks to her fire resistance skill, she managed to defeat the seahorse monster when it ran out of MP. The situation grew worse when some fish monsters noticed her and she was caught in between them. She shot venom into one of their mouths and killed it while the other one ran away. Once again, she gets lucky. She starts to eat the catfish to replenish her stamina, and this time the monster doesn't taste like vomit. Just then, Julius, Shun's brother, arrived at the middle stratum of the labyrinth. The hero's party slayed the monsters like hot knives through butter as they headed for their quarry, which was a spider monster. Kumoko was still looking for more catfish to eat when an eel emerged from the lava. She kept dodging its attacks thanks to her foresight till it landed on the same platform as her.
Like a slimy chicken! Why is it so bad? Easy! Stat advantage, but I'll make up the difference with the skills I...
She shot her poison into its mouth and killed it. Or so she thought. It stood up again using a skill called Life Exchange. She shot more poison balls at it till it finally died and she leveled up. She held off her evolution and celebrated her victory like a little kid at a carnival show. She used the eel as a protective eel and evolved into a new subspecies called Zoa Ele. She now had a metal-like shell and increased combat proficiency. I wonder if this was how humans evolved. Her gluttonous nature definitely evolved as well because she ate the whole eel without even noticing. She got new skills and could finally use her detection skill without having a crazy migraine. Her mind kind of split into two personalities thanks to a skill called Parallel Minds, which meant she just became twice as annoying and dumb. The hero's party is around a campfire discussing and teasing each other. Julius hears the voice of a monster, and 3 greater Terratechs surround them with a shining white one that seems to be their leader and the source of the voice. The white one was known as the Nightmare's Vestige. They managed to defeat it when the vestige started shaking out of fear of something.
Now! It was able to disperse my magic with its own?
Later on, we see a girl and a guy having a conversation, and the girl is referred to as the Demon Lord. Meanwhile, Shun is surrounded by a beautiful harem as he talks about his brother, but his fun is cut short when Katya calls him to the side. What a party pooper. Hugo storms out of the class with a seething rage and says that Shun doesn't belong in his world. Kumoko continued leveling up and acquiring new skills, while she discussed with her alter ego on which ones to get. Shun, Katya, and Oka were discussing, and Oka told them about how 4 of their classmates had been confirmed dead. She wouldn't reveal how she knew, and also told them to reduce the way they leveled up and got skills. Why's she being all sneaky? Sue then came in and told them they were being called to participate in extracurricular activities. Pretty sure she just wanted an opportunity to come talk to her brother. Crazy girl. They got split up into different teams. Sadly, Shun was on the same team as Hugo. They set out and set up camp in the woods. While Shun was out gathering herbs, he heard the sound of fighting and rushed to where his partner, Parton, was. On his way, Hugo the Fool ambushed him and started talking about how he was meant to rule the world, and Shun should just die. It's always the same story with blockheads like this. He tells Shun how he's already planned to release a monster to kill everyone so that he'll emerge the hero of the situation.
Ready? This is insane! Do you...
Your sword's so damn weak! What happened to the big bad hero act from when you beat the Earth Dragon?
OK came in the nick of time and stopped. She stripped of his skills and made his stats drop. Just who exactly is this woman? They tended to the injured and the activity was cancelled. So much for Hugo becoming a king now. Kumoko just kept leveling up and acquiring skills like she was playing some RPG in easy mode. She suddenly heard some static noise and began to realize that maybe she was being watched. Hugo, on the other hand, was throwing a tantrum and was met by a strange lady who offered to help him get revenge. Shun, Katya, Yuri, and Faye are discussing Hugo not coming to school for some time. Then Shun has a flashback to a time they were still in school with their classmates and how peaceful those times were. OK appears from nowhere and lets them know about two of their classmates who are all right, but she can't tell them where they are. Faye asks about Wakaba, and Oka has a gloomy look on her face. Meanwhile, the stupid godforsaken spider seems to be having a rock concert and couldn't care less about the administrator she found out about. She explains the concept of using magic, how she needs perception and magic operation. Lastly, the right runes to bring it all together. She tries to cast a magic spell but fails woefully, and the magic circles just explode. She gets into a fight with her split mind, and a third alter ego pops out of nowhere. There's only so much of this idiocy one can take. She hears some monster noises and goes to investigate. She sees a lot of dead monsters on the ground. Then a big high-ranked fire dragon pops out from the lava, and they start fighting. She's barely surviving and dodging its attacks until she manages to bait it. She fires a large poison ball into its mouth, but he blows it up before it hits. Guess what else? That's right. In the process of that, a third alter ego popped up. I just can't with this show. The fight comes to a pinch with just one platform left for her to stand on, while the dragon blows fire at her. Will she be able to survive this? OK, on the other hand, informs her students about the death of Wakaba. Shun meets up with his brother and a companion named Hyrance. Julius tells his brother that he's headed to the Empire because war might break out soon with the demons. They get into a nice family discussion about Julius's scarf. It was given to him by their mother before she passed, and it was made from the silk of a Terratect spider. I guess that foolish female spider has her uses after all. They bid their farewells, and Julius heads out. Kumoko managed to pull a fast one on the dragon by using her illusion magic and got the drop on it. The dragon wasn't dead yet, and she summoned a Hellgate. But it still managed to resist the attack. Now, it's just being an annoying stain. With her last bit of strength, she finally defeated the dragon. While she dragged it away, she felt a strong presence approaching her. A man in some kind of scaly armor appeared from another dimension and started speaking in a language she couldn't understand. Suddenly, a smartphone appeared out of nowhere, and the man picked it up and started talking with the person on the other end. Phones in a medieval world aren't what I expected. The man finished talking and left, and then Kumoko picked up the phone. The person revealed that she was Administrator D, who had been watching Kumoko all this time and providing skills as well. Kumoko tried to figure out what her goal was, but she just said she liked watching people suffer, and Kumoko was nothing more than a circus act for her. She told Spidey that she'd probably find the answers she sought later on, and hung up the phone. The Demon Lord is then seen having a meeting with the different leaders of different corp. They all gave their reports until they got to the 7th Corps leader. His name was Blow, and he didn't seem to like the fact that a girl from nowhere was being called the Demon Lord, and they were taking orders from her. The Demon Lord stopped the fight that was about to break out, and the reports continued till the meeting ended. Shun was in class when he suddenly got the notification that he had acquired the hero title. This only meant one thing. His dear brother, Julius, had gone to dance with Hades. Kumoko and her 3 alter egos got into an argument about who D was. She decided worrying about it wasn't going to help and proceeded into the upper stratum. Shun was grieving with his brothers and father. While one of his brothers, Leston, consoled him, the other one, Silas, didn't show any concern and said they needed to move on to more pressing matters. I already don't like this guy. A guard came in and informed them about the fallen fortresses and the progress of the demon's army. Shun's father said to keep his status a secret for now, as well as what happened to Julius. He needed to leave the academy and prepare for his announcement as the new hero. Ronant, who was known as the greatest mage in history, was discussing with one of his guards at his fortress when he recalled meeting the nightmare of the labyrinth. Ronant was with his party in the labyrinth, and he kept making lame excuses just because he wanted a break. What a shameful old man. The creature met them, and Ronant was too caught up with how strong it was, until he had to be literally slammed back to his senses. He teleported out of there and wasn't even able to save the one person he left with while all the other people were killed by the spider. Kumoko managed to level up once again and evolved into Ada Sane. Shun was practicing his magic when he nearly drowned Faye in her blood. Sorry, I meant in water. He told her how nervous he was about becoming the hero and following his brother's footsteps. She suggested they make a pact so he could call on her whenever he needed to. This made her start evolving, and she turned into an egg. Kumoko had gotten a lot of information about the world after evolving, and her taboo skill maxed out. She saw that the world was about to end thanks to her insufferable existence. Well, not that exactly. She decided to become stronger and save the world after a terrible argument with her other 3 alter egos. She went to look for Araba, the first earth dragon she came across, but ended up finding a large cobra snake that would have ended her. A few moments later, the snake got into a fight with Araba. Kumoko just stood there and marveled at how the dragon decimated the snake. Hyrance then came to see Shun and told him everything he could remember. The only reason he managed to be alive was thanks to the phoenix feather that Julius told him to hold on to. He decided to protect Shun since he couldn't protect his brother, and Shun accepted his offer. Spider-Girl continued her leveling up spree and marked some earth dragons she found along the way. She planned to sneak up on Araba if possible, like the little wimp she was. She got into a fight with a swarm of hornets that kept sneaking up on her. It happened to be that she was the spider that Ronant encountered earlier. If only they knew how stupid she was. She took out the hornets and their hive, then prepared for her battle with Araba. The fight began, and the dragon proved to be quite formidable, despite Kumoko's various tactics and magic bombardments. Araba even got the new skills on the spot just to counter her. This was probably the smartest foe she had ever faced. She definitely was the dumbest for Araba. Rather than think of a new way to beat Araba, the stupid arachnid just kept complaining about how the dragon was cheating while she was barely surviving. At the last moment, she managed to make him burn through his resources, and she won. Araba took the defeat with pride, but this frustrated her. Despite the fact she won, Araba may have still defeated her in some other way. Who knew spiders had pride? While everyone else worried about Shun wherever they were, even Hugo, who seemed to have sinister plans in mind, Kumoko finally found the exit to the dungeon she's been in for so long. The itsy-bitsy spider got to the exit only to find herself still surrounded by fortress walls. She started getting attacked by some soldiers and ended up bringing the fortress down. As she headed out, there was a sudden urge for her to return to the labyrinth thanks to one of her mother's skills. She was able to ignore the command and abandoned her mother while dissing her. Shun went out to attend a meeting with the elves and was accompanied by his attendant, Anna, who was a half-elf. OK was present for the meeting and apologized for not being able to make peace with the demons before the death of Julius. Silas, on the other hand, suggested sending Shun to the front lines immediately. Such a cold-hearted brother. Maybe he's jealous about not becoming the hero. The chief of the elves, Podimus, warned Shun about the followers of God and their pontiff known as Dustin. Sue met Katya in her room as they worried about Shun. Suddenly, Hugo barged into the place. While our friendly neighborhood spider was enjoying her outdoor freedom, she noticed a large swarm of spiders who were her siblings had come to drag her back home. Mothers really don't know when to give up.
Shoot!
She trapped the bigger ones and teleported them to the middle stratum where she used the lava to roast them before she devoured them. Not only does she not have respect for her elders, but cannibalism as well is just wrong. She then sent her 3 alter egos into her mother's mind for them to devour it. This girl is even killing her own mother. What kind of child is this? Hugo then seems to be having a meeting with Silas while Katya and Sue look to be there as hostages. I knew I never trusted his brother. Kumoko was still being a horrible daughter when she came across a carriage being attacked by bandits. She got down and killed the bandits after having a hot debate in her mind about eating more hot-looking humans. I don't even want to get into whatever the hell that was about. She healed the person who was controlling the carriage, and then noticed the family she protected had a baby vampire. She started throwing a stupid tantrum about not being able to reincarnate as a vampire, and ran off into the sunset while she cursed her very existence. Kumoko then noticed a group of elves that were about to kidnap the baby and attack the carriage, so she killed them before it could happen. Meanwhile, Sue and Shun went to see their father because Sue said their father wanted to see him. As they got in, their father said he didn't call him, and just then Sue blasted a hole through his head. She screamed in order to frame him for the murder. The guards rushed in, and Hugo and Silas revealed themselves. They were behind everything because Silas wanted the throne for himself, but their father already had plans of naming Shun as the heir. Great, another spoiled brat and his obsession with the throne. Don't people have anything better to do? Hugo and Shun got into a fight, and Shun found out Sue was under a brainwashing spell when Sophia, the girl working with Hugo and Silas, butted in. OK showed up and saved him, and they escaped.
Get back here!
Don't let them escape!
Hyrance and Anna accompanied them, and Oka informed Shun that Silas had started a rebellion. Leston came along to help their escape, and they ran to the woods. In the woods, Oka told them that the church had declared Hugo as the new hero. Only Lord knows how that happened. She also told them that they didn't have a chance of winning so far as Sophia was there. Then, they got ambushed by Katya, who was also brainwashed. Shun and Katya began their fight.
Your little tricks won't save you now!
Idiots!
Filthy traitors you are!
You dumbass!
In the middle of it, she managed to regain part of herself and stabbed herself before she could hurt Shun anymore. Shun tried healing her, and a bright light suddenly shone like he had unlocked a hidden power. It's one surprise after the other in this show. OK continued mowing down the mobs when Sophia showed up with the head of Potamus. Shun found out that Sophia was another reincarnation. When all hope was lost, Faye popped out of the skies and flew to their rescue. She was looking like a beautiful white dragon. Shun and the rest managed to escape on her back, and they flew away. Kumoko's alter egos were still destroying their precious mother when they noticed it was strange that she wasn't reacting. She suddenly blasted a hole through the ceiling of her cave and was out to get her daughter by all means. The egos tried to warn their main body, but they were already cut off while the stupid and oblivious Kumoko couldn't even notice anything. She was munching on some fruits when her mother snuck on her and started her attack. I've never seen a mother try so much to kill her child. Kumoko managed to dodge and teleport away, but was awaited by some of her siblings. She was on her way to the middle stratum to use the lava to her advantage, when a puppet with multiple arms stopped her escape. She noticed it was being controlled by a tiny spider on the inside and said it must be her mother's secret weapon. What a wonderful family reunion this has turned into. She was barely getting by when she found herself in the puppet's trap. The puppet used one of the bodies of the Arch-Pterotex to crush her, but she managed to kill it and level up. Lucky girl, or should I say lucky spider. She teleported away and managed to take an Arch-Pterotex with her, which she killed with the lava. She then evolved into the Zana Haroa subspecies. Meantime, Katya was consoling Shun while he worried about Sue. OK told them Hugo had begun invading the elf village, and Shun suggested they intercept him. The problem was that they needed to pass through the Great Elro Labyrinth to get there. Spidey evolved and gained an immortality skill, which meant this bug was here to stay forever. The smartphone popped out of nowhere again, and Dee contacted her. She tried to ignore it, but Dee threatened to destroy her instantly. This means there's still a chance of this bug being gone. Dee told her how she and her classmates died because the previous demon lord and hero lost control of their magic. She told her that most of her classmates were reincarnated as humans, and she cursed her existence once again. Also, Dee is one of her classmates, but she kept her real identity a secret. She was the one who proposed the skill system everyone uses, and the reason that the classroom got destroyed. She sounds quite unbothered and nonchalant about it. She should be flogged mercilessly. Dee said it was because there was a faction that saw the administrators as the enemies. Shun and his party entered a town that helped people going into the labyrinth. They met up with a labyrinth guide, Goyef, and asked for his help. Goyef couldn't help them because he didn't want trouble with the Empire, considering Shun and the rest were now considered fugitives. Goyef's dad, Bazgath, then offered to help them because his son was nothing but a spineless wimp. Meanwhile, Faye called out Oka and Kaida for help. When they returned, they showed Faye in her humanoid form, and she had wings. Kind of like an angel, but with a narcissistic touch. They all got into swim gear because the entrance to the labyrinth was within a sea controlled by water dragons. This also means Faye, who just got her wings, was about to drown out. Luckily, Shun was going to help her along the way. They dove into the water and were immediately confronted by the dragons. They attacked and Faye blasted them away. The ripple effect pushed them to the entrance by some crazy coincidence. Kumoko was on the beach doing some fishing. It's crazy. Anyway, she baited a water dragon and killed it instantly. She then teleported back to where the spider puppet was and drowned out that one.
Jeez, I said freaking hold it!
She returned back to the beach when one of her egos managed to get through and contact her. It warned her about a monster stronger than their mother that was approaching. The monster came, and it was the Demon Lord, who was also a Terratect and a divine beast. Before Kumoko could escape, she got split up like some fresh kebab instantly. Shun and his party fought through the labyrinth and took a break in order not to overexert themselves. He had a weird dream that showed a young lady who spoke like she was the voice of the system. This scared him to wake up, and Basgath suspected it was because the nightmare of the labyrinth was close by. Just how much did Kumoko torment these people? They continued their journey and decided to take the shortest route to their destination. This was also the most dangerous route. Like they say, the fast life is a dangerous life. Not long after, they ran into an earth dragon but managed to defeat it with huge help from Faye. Then they were surrounded by the nightmare's vestiges, and this silly hero started questioning them. He must have had death wishes. The vestiges kept repeating how they knew about reincarnation and the beginning and end of the world before they disappeared. Basgath let Shun have one since he was too dumb, and started talking to the spiders. They continued and headed out of the labyrinth of Faye's back, and saw the elf village on the horizon. Meanwhile, Kumoko's head was just floating above the water thanks to her immortality skill. She found out the Demon Lord was the origin Terratect where her entire species came from, and was glad she didn't kill her with abyss magic. I kinda wish the Demon Lord did. The abyss magic can destroy one's soul entirely, which meant her immortality wouldn't cut it. The Demon Lord still found her egos, and one of them managed to invade her mind. She had to find a way to kill Kumoko, and fast. Kumoko had finally regenerated her body and went to find out how far she had drifted away. She then saw the carriage of the baby vampire she saved earlier, and someone tailing them. The family got back home and thought Kumoko was a divine beast that saved them. They need to understand that the spider is anything but divine. The baby started recalling its past. I don't even know how that's possible for an infant. She was one of the reincarnated students named Shuko Nagishi, but in this world, her name was Sophia. That's right, the same Sophia that attacked Shun. This means Kumoko's timeline must be the past, and Shun's timeline is the future. Sophia was too scared of the spider the first time she saw it. Just then, their butler comes in to tell her father that he's discovered the spider's nest outside of town. Kumoko doesn't even know how much trouble she is. Shun and his team were heading to a town named Sariella before touching down in the elf village. Oka tells them how the people of that town are also crazy heretics who worship the goddess. They believe in offering up skills to strengthen the goddess. It's one crazy cult after another. They got into the town and found a cloak for Faye while they kept a low profile. Meanwhile, Kumoko had killed some bandits that trailed baby Sophia. She marked one of them that ran back to their base to give a report. She found out it was the Elves that were after her. Later we see Potamus when he was still alive. He spoke to his subordinate who relayed the information of a spider spoiling their plans. He knew it was one of the Demon Lord's offspring and referred to her as Ariel. He saw this as an opportunity to take out Ariel and Dustin, who he suspected knew about the reincarnations as well. Kumoko woke up the next day and started taking out bandits randomly. This damn crazy spider. Dustin gets the information that his agents were taken out by her, and he suspects it's Ariel's doing. His plan for the meantime was to take out the followers of God Sect. Is everyone in this show just bent on war? Meanwhile, Sophia's father was getting a report from their butler about how the spider was killing bandits. Just then, someone barged in to tell them that Kumoko was healing people. This girl really just does whatever comes to her head. The whole town saw her as some kind of divine being, and started trooping towards her for healing. The townspeople gathered around her and kept paying their respects daily. Some people even started making and selling merchandise of her. I've seen about enough of everything in this anime. Shun and the others found a teleportation circle that took them to the elf village. They were sent back before Potamus, who was supposed to be dead, appeared before them and took them in. Yeah, the more I watch, the more confusing this becomes. They got to an inn prepared for them, but they were weary of Oka and Potamus. The next day, they met up with the rest of their classmates who had been reincarnated. They were working on a farm, which meant Oka was running her own little slave empire. The classmates got to catching up with each other, and the ones working on the farm mentioned how they were harshly treated by the elves, which led them to believe that Oka wasn't all innocent. Meanwhile, baby Sophia's father was being demanded to hand over Kumoko to the Kingdom of Oats. Pontimus then walked in to see them, and he was there to see the divine beast for himself. Again, Kumoko is anything but divine. He suspected Ariel of sending Kumoko to protect Sophia. Just then, Kumoko noticed her mother's stats had dropped significantly, and she teleported to the cave to finish her off. Obviously, she forgot she was dealing with her mother because the mother spider was prepared for her and decapitated her. A mother's true love, indeed. Just then, Kumoko's alter egos came to rescue her. The mother spider's stats that were devoured were now added to Kumoko's power. Talk about overkill. She finally killed her mother. I can't believe that actually happened. What a horrible child. She noticed one of her egos was missing, the one that went into Ariel's body. Kumoko noticed Ariel coming her way and teleported out of the cave. Ariel got to the cave, but it was already too late. She was confronted by a dragon that seemed to be a divine beast. It suggested to her to let new things be referring to Kumoko. Those words angered Ariel, and she took out the dragon. Kumoko returned to being worshipped when an envoy from the Kingdom of Oats came to take her. She couldn't be bothered and just carried her fruits and went her way. Meanwhile, Sophia's dad was already dealing with more than he could handle thanks to that troublesome insect. The leader of the envoy told his subordinates to bring Kumoko by any means necessary. They're in for a world of pain. Kumoko used her advanced eyesight to see Ariel and the dragon in a heated battle. Just then, the man with dragon scales from earlier known as Guiladistodies, or Guil for short, who was also an administrator, showed up and asked her to cease her attack on Ariel. She told him that she couldn't really stop it since she didn't have a connection to that part of her mind anymore. He accepted her situation. To be honest, he didn't even look bothered about anything in life at all. He then asked her to also stop interacting with humans. She refused because she wanted to save the world from destruction, and he just accepted and left. This guy is living the true life of being unbothered by anything. Spidey got ambushed by some of those diplomats and ended up killing their leader. Just great. The Kingdom of Oats used this to declare war on Sariella, and they were backed by the Renksant Empire and the Holy Kingdom of Elias. Kumoko decided to help out Sariella in the war. Hasn't she done enough damage already? Her bug brain must be fried. OK then started to recall her past, and how one of her skills showed the list of her students, and how they would die. This was what made her become a slave trader, and kidnap them to keep them safe since she knew their fate. The skill didn't let her know any information about herself, and she couldn't tell the students about the skill either. At the same time, everyone was preparing for the coming war. Shun and some others went to check out the Elven barrier in preparation for the war. Kunihiko attempted to test its durability with his magic sword, but the barrier didn't give in. The elves seem to have a lot of pride in their barrier, but there's pride before a heavy fall. On their way back, they meet up with Oka. She tells the rest of the elves to go on ahead while she explains their reincarnation to Hyrance and Anna. She says they were probably summoned intentionally and mentions an old elven tale. OK says the gods in these tales are the administrators, and the elves see them as enemies. OK, there's way too much going on here. OK believes that Hugo is being controlled by the administrators to instigate the war, and Sophia has sided with them too. An all-out world war caused by some crazy classmates. This should be interesting. They went over their plans and prepared for the war the next day. While waiting for anything suspicious, they heard noises where the teleportation circles were. They headed inside and found Kusama, one of their classmates with an annoying personality. They got into a fight with him, but he was a ninja that could dodge well. Kusama blew up the circles, and Yuri took down the barrier with her magic. So much for the elves' pride. The war started, and Hugo got into a fight with Oka. He was too strong thanks to his greed skill that let him steal the stats of people he killed like some lowly scavenger.
That's their skill points. Not all, but enough.
Hugo was about to land the final blow on her when Shun showed up just in time. The war on Sariella's end went on with Kumoko giving the worst commentary I'd ever seen. A young Julius was also seen on the battlefield. Kumoko took out most of the enemy soldiers when Ariel landed on the battlefield. Apparently, she defeated the Elder Earth Dragon while battling Kumoko's personality, which was mixing up with her soul. Guile then met her and explained what was happening with her soul, and also told her how Kumoko was a reincarnation brought into the world by Administrator D. Guile, then teleported Ariel to the battlefield where our crazy spider was. Ariel and Kumoko then got into a fight, but it was more one-sided favoring Ariel. All Kumoko did was make silly commentary along the way. Their fight was stopped by the young Julius who wanted to take them on. Poor kid was so scared, I can swear he pissed his pants. Ariel used the distraction to take Kumoko unawares and hit her with abyss magic, which ended her life. Meanwhile, Shun and Hugo continued their fight. Hugo couldn't remember one of their classmates, Kunihiko, who introduced himself. I don't know if he was serious or just being a jerk. They also noticed Hugo had acquired a Demon Lord skill, which was very weird. While everyone else stayed back, Shun and Hugo continued their clash. The fight between Shun and Hugo continued, but Hugo was no match for the true hero. He swatted as aimlessly like some child until Shun disarmed in. Then Sophia stepped in, revealing she was with the demon army and her soldiers were just a distraction. Merizophis, her butler from childhood, was the commander of the demon army's 4th Corps. The demons used the Imperials as a distraction to invade the elf village. Hugo realized he was just a tool and had no use in his previous life and current one. What a waste. Shun and his party began fighting Sophia, planning to overcome a foe with the power of friendship like some fairy tale. Sophia had them beat to the bone as they could hardly put a scratch on her. Even when it looked like they finally had an opening, Shun still couldn't strike a vital point. He was too much of a goody two-shoes. With their loss, Faye stepped in to surrender since she knew they would lose from fighting Sophia. Faye didn't speak up earlier because she knew Shun's pride wouldn't let him surrender. Of course, Shun didn't listen and still wanted to fight when their classmate, Kyoya, showed up to the scene. He was the commander of the 8th Corps and was known as Wrath. He wondered why Shun and the rest were helping the elves when he saw them as the bad guys. The elves came to teleport Shun away and brought some robots with them. How'd they even get the technology for that? The robots started firing on Sophia and Wrath. Meanwhile, Ariel slowly got closer to the elf village. Our Spidey friend Kumoko managed to survive by transferring her soul to one of the eggs she laid prior to getting obliterated. So basically she became her own child? Weird. She hatched and evolved into another form called Arachne, which gave her a humanoid form. The machines continued their attack but were no match for Sophia and Wrath. They both tossed the mechs and elves around like they were nothing. Shun tried to stop them and got into a fight with Wrath. The demon commander had him beaten and was about to give the final strike when Anna shielded him with her body. Shun tried to save her and ended up maxing out the taboo skill which flooded him with information about the world, just like Kumoko. Meanwhile, Hugo tried to land a sneak attack on Sophia, but it didn't work. This guy just never gives up. Sophia tried to kill him when she was stopped by the white girl who killed Julius, whom she also referred to as her master. The rest of the classmates there were awestruck when they recognized the white girl as Wakaba, the classmate that Oka told them was dead. Meanwhile, Kumoko was enjoying her half-human, half-spider form. The rest of her eggs hatched, and she became a mother that had to feed her children. The irony of this. She used her clairvoyance and saw that the war had broken out greatly. The elves had invaded Sophia's home and were about to kill her. Sophia's father entrusted her to Merizophis, while he and her mother tried to buy time. Unfortunately, Merizophis was caught by the elves and had to be turned into a vampire by Sophia to help before he died. Potamus showed up and asked his troops to kill them, but this was the time he was sent by Oka to kidnap her students. Kumoko showed up to the scene to protect Sophia, but our baby vampire recognized the Spider-Woman as Wakaba. Yup, I give up on the back and forth with this show. She got into a fight with Potamus and managed to graze his skin, which revealed that Potamus, there to be a cyborg. She remembered that this was part of the technology she saw in her taboo vision that would end the world. The cyborg continued with the pressure until Ariel landed in the midst of them. Kumoko's silly personality was still affecting the Demon Lord. Ariel squashed the cyborg's head and surprisingly called a truce with Kumoko since she didn't die due to the abyss magic and her personality still affected her. I guess her stupid ego managed to save her butt. That was how Ariel recruited her alongside Sophia and Mersophis in order to stop Potimas from destroying the world. What a crazy turn of events this turned out to be. That's all, folks. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing content.